Hi, I'm Daniel, I'm a sleep physician, and if you have insomnia, this channel is for you. Today's question: what if you develop a pattern where you sleep reasonably well for 3 days and then not at all the fourth one? So today we're going to look at an email from Toine. If you're new to the channel, you may not have seen some previous videos where he's also sent some really good questions, and today he's sending another one. Just kind of a quick background. Toine has trouble sleeping, of course, and he initially tried something called ACT, which is a completely different type of approach to insomnia, which has mostly to do with like mindfulness, and I think helps a lot of people, but he started having problems where he was kind of associating the bed and the bedroom with not sleeping, which is a common problem, and he switched track a little bit and is now trying more cognitive behavioral therapy techniques. Now, I think he's made progress, but he's facing a kind of difficult pattern now. Before I read this email and we talk about more what he may be able to do here, please keep in mind everything I say here is general advice, no specific medical advice to anybody, including you, Toine. So without further ado, though, let's get right to this email. So, I'm starting my third week of 6-hour SRT, which is sleep restriction therapy, which is the same time as bedtime restriction, which basically is when you limit time in bed to build a strong sleep drive so you can sleep better. With stimulus control, apparently a sleeping pattern has been established after my first 2 weeks. 1. Sleepless night. 2. Recovery sleepful night of 5.5 to 6 hours. 3. So-so sleep night of 4.5 to 5.5 hours. 4. Sleepful recovery night of 5.5 to 6 hours. And then 5, back to number 1 above. So basically we have a pattern where Toine is sleeping, reasonably well for 3 days and then not at all a fourth night. And just to keep reading here, because there is another question here, or a specific question here that after 3 nights of sleep, the next is sleeplessness, where I constantly shuffle in and out of the bedroom to no avail. The previous third sleep night could be considered refreshing by my current standards. I do get drowsy an hour and a half before bedtime, but simply cannot follow through when my head hits the pillow. Is this normal during the first 4 weeks of SRT, so sleep restriction therapy and stimulus control, or would an adjustment be needed? Good question. Let's start there actually with the question of, is this normal during the first 4 weeks or would an adjustment be needed? I would say that, what's described here in the third from the last sentence, I do get drowsy an hour and a half before bedtime, but simply kind of fall through when my head hits the pillow. That, I feel, could be something that just goes away with time. So that particular symptom may not require any adjustment at this time. However, when it comes to the overall pattern, things may be a little bit different. So again, just a quick repeat here: 3 reasonably good nights and then 1 completely sleepless night. One thing that I think is somewhat positive here is that there is a pattern. I feel like when I see patients and there's absolutely like no prediction, no pattern at all, things are really difficult. So the first goal with treating insomnia is really to kind of try to establish some type of pattern. Now, the pattern that described here in Toine's email is not a good one. Of course, every 4th night not sleeping at all is terrible, really. So I can think of like basically 3 approaches here. Probably the classic thing to do, the most common thing to do would probably to do the following: to say that, well, now you're spending 6 hours in bed. Every 4th night you're not sleeping at all, so 6 hours is too much. We need to establish kind of a pattern where you're at least sleeping through, more consistently than now. So that would be to say, let's do 5.5 hours or 5 hours until you establish a consistent pattern of sleeping, close to 5 hours, and then gradually extend time in bed. That's kind of like probably the classic approach that most people would do. I could think of another approach, which would be to kind of only try to focus on that sleepless night. And what would you do that sleepless night? Well, either you would restrict yourself further that night. So you do like 6 hours, 3 nights, and then that night when you know you're not going to be able to sleep, you go to bed, an hour later, or an hour and a half later, or half an hour later, or something like that for that particular night. That could be something to consider, given this pattern. And then the third option would be kind of like the passive option, to say, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to change anything. In fact, I'm going to regard this as the way things are right now, and kind of like accept the way things are. And here's the thing. The goal, of course, is not to keep having this pattern, but sometimes when you kind of like take a step back and like say, I'm not going to do anything more, this is the way that things are, somehow that can be like have a relaxing effect. Like you're not feeling as pressured. You kind of say, yeah, I know I'm not going to sleep at all, I'm not going to do anything about it. It's kind of like paradoxical intention. Sometimes that can paradoxically help. So I hope this was helpful to you, Toine, and anybody else watching this. And as always, please send me questions, thoughts. If you want to share some problem sleeping, leave a comment, email me at insomniainside@gmail.com, or send me a voicemail at 503-489-4802. I almost got it memorized now. Very nice talking today, and I hope to see you back here very, very soon. Bye now.